Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel for what is going to be a sort of what's new with e.l.f. I recently mentioned a relatively new product from them. I always forget, this does not have the product name on it, but basically it's a lip product remover. Mentioned this in my December favorites video and asked you guys if you wanted to see or hear my thoughts and learn more about some of the other new stuff they've come out with that they recently sent to me. It was kind of some mixed feedback. A lot of you guys said yes, big long video, and some of you said individual reviews and some other ideas in there. So basically it's a compromise. This video is going to be an overview with reviews of everything that I have that's new from e.l.f., but I'm going to put timestamps for each product that I talk about in the info bar below. So if I'm talking about something that you really don't care anything about, go check the info bar in case there is something you want to hear about that I am going to talk about, and skip right ahead. So with that, let's get going. I think I'll start with this lip remover let's hope not, lip product remover, because I can kind of breeze over it because I did mention it in that video. Basically, I have been loving liquid lipsticks lately, but as a lot of you might know, if you are into that super long-lasting, stay all day, sort of deep, vampy lip color like I have been loving, obviously, in winter, they can tend to flake in the center of the lips first, and then I find that I have this, if I don't want to reapply, I just end up with this weird looking ring around the perimeter of my lips. And so in order to take it off, rather than doing a lot of harsh scrubbing, you put this guy on it, let it sit for 20 to 30 seconds, it melts the liquid lipstick away, and then you wipe it away with a tissue, and you literally, I mean, it's like brand new lips, no stain, no nothing. It's beautiful. So that's that. Moving on to the rest of the products though, I want to start with what I'm most excited about. And I have to say, guys, this is one of the most excited kind of new products, you know, when they send those boxes of new stuff to people. This has to be the one that I'm most excited about. There's so many great products in here that I cannot wait to talk about. But what I'm most excited about are the brushes. So I'm going to start, I have a set here, but I also have individual brushes, so I'll start with the individual brushes first. All of these, as usual, for e.l.f. at least, because they're, I believe, part of the HD line or whatever line it is the black brushes are a part of. They retail for $6 individually. So they are 4 face brushes, the first of which, my one gripe with all of these, in fact, is that e.l.f. doesn't label what they are, so I'm actually on the website right now looking up what each of these are. This is the Flawless Face Brush. I find it's a great powder brush, as you can see, compared to what are two sort of more densely packed brushes. This is nice and dense, but it's a little bit fluffier, has a little bit more give than something like this with just a more rounded flat top. This is a great powder brush. I've been using this for setting my under eye makeup for pressed powder, I should mention, because it does pick up quite a bit of product. It is very fluffy. The brushes are so nice feeling. If you are a sucker for a soft brush, this is going to be for you. And they each of these clean up really nicely. I've already done, as you can kind of see from the blue tinge here, I've already done a cleaning on some of them because I use the Cinema Secrets, I think that's what it is, the blue stuff. And they clean up really well, really easily. They don't hold on to products because they are synthetic fiber. So, but back to this brush, really like this as a powder brush. Then there are the kind of selfie ready brushes. One is a powder brush, which is this kind of fanned out brush, and then something that's a little bit more round by comparison. This is the powder brush and this is the foundation brush. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two. Gotta tell you, they're very similar brushes. The only difference is that this one is very slightly fanned out, as I hope you can see from the profiles here. Right off the bat with this powder brush, I have to say I think this is for powder foundation. I don't like how it lays down powder where I typically apply powder, which is, like I said, my under eye. Sometimes I'll use it to mattify and set foundation elsewhere. I just find it picks up too much product, which is why I really like something a little bit fluffier like this, so it can really diffuse that product away. This, because it's built more for buffing, it displaces too much of the foundation underneath for me, so I really like this for powder foundation. This guy, on the other hand, is like perfect for liquid foundation, as I think it was meant for, because of its shape. Like I said, perfect for buffing. And the truth is, I think you could do, there is nothing especially unique besides that very subtle shape difference that would warrant getting both of these, I don't think. I think they both work for powder, they both work for liquid, just depends on your preference, but frankly, they're very similar. And the last one is kind of a weird one. It is the Sculpting Face Brush. You can see it has this very unique profile and is meant explicitly for sculpting down the cheeks, and they also say you can use it on your nose, but this is kind of a weird, I guess it's not so weird, but I found it was interesting because the recent launches before this, they had a straight profile like sort of a paintbrush style contouring brush. So this kind of adheres more closely to the contours of your cheeks, whereas the other one I tend to use like flip it 90 degrees and run it along there and use to buff and blend. So this has a slightly different functionality, but I have to be honest, the shape makes it very, very limiting for me. At first I kind of thought, what am I going to use this for? And then ironically, Physicians Formula recently came out with like a new kind of strip bronzer that I'll be talking about in an upcoming video. But basically it lays three lines of product down as it goes down your cheek. This happened to be perfect to apply it. I'll show you a demo applying it here. But really outside of that, I think it's kind of a hard product to fit into your everyday makeup routine unless you use kind of a highly specialized product like that one from Physicians Formula. Otherwise, without that kind of graduation of shades along the brush profile here, I find that it's just one big long streak of bronzer or contour or whatever it is you're using. And so kind of mixed on this. I don't think it's an absolute necessity, especially if you already have their other contour brush that they released. But I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've tried this in the comment section. Maybe you have a totally different use for it and you think it's absolutely essential to your everyday makeup routine. I'd love to hear it if you do in the comments below. Now on to what is my favorite brush addition. I mean, maybe my favorite brushes ever from e.l.f. This is the 11-piece silver brush collection. Obviously, it has 11 brushes inside, and then you get what is actually a really nice carrying case. This retails for $30. It is definitely on the, you know, more expensive side of what e.l.f. retails, but given that you get 11 really nice quality brushes. I mean, these, I have not met a brush in here that I don't like, and I'll actually go through and tell you what kinds you get. They're all amazing. So 30 bucks, you know, isn't e.l.f.'s typical price point, but given that you get 11 phenomenal brushes, I still think the value is there. So now let's go through the brushes. Let's start with the face brushes. The first is kind of this flat kabuki powder brush. I do prefer it for powder, great for powder foundation, for setting powder. You could even use it to buff in liquid, I guess. All of these are friendly with liquid, which is really nice, but also work with powder and creams and things like that. Then you get a powder brush. This is what I have been using to apply another product I'm about to talk about actually, because it fits really nicely as kind of a broad to really diffuse color across the face without it being too harsh, but still allows you to build up pigmentation, and it picks up a good amount of product. And then you have a blush brush, which is a significant, well, not significantly, a somewhat smaller silhouette than this larger powder brush. So it's really tailored to getting just the apples of your cheeks and kind of diffusing it from there. And then a fan brush, which I was actually looking at getting. No lie, I've been seeing people applying highlighters, you know, those Instagram videos where they just like, oh, it's like golden goddess, because then they're using this fan brush to dust it on. Have been looking into getting a fan brush, and lo and behold, came in this set, and I absolutely love it. It's what I've been using to apply my highlight every day. It's just a really nice way to get a really a buildable highlight. You can get something really soft and natural with a soft touch, or you can layer it up with this guy, even though it is a very, it looks dense, but it's not. Bottom line is it's not. It's just a great tool to have, especially for highlighting. This one is kind of a hybrid brush. I think you could use it for your eyes if you just want an all-over wash of color, but I have been using it to apply under eye concealer as well as the setting powder, just because it is that perfect size to really get in that inner corner and buff and blend any kind of liquid, cream, powder products you have in your under eye area, as well as, you know, around the nose, chin, any kind of spot places that you want to conceal or correct. Then onto some of the more true eye brushes, I guess you might call them. Here is kind of an all-over shadow brush. This is very similar to the Real Techniques flat shader, is that what it's called, in shape and density, so it is absolutely perfect for packing that color across the lid. Then there is something that it's kind of like e.l.f.'s C brush. I mean, probably identical to e.l.f.'s C brush, but the fibers or the bristles are so much softer across the board here, guys. There's definitely a difference in the fibers used in these brushes versus those in the Essentials line. These are very, very soft, more evenly cut, which is what makes them softer, and they're a little bit less rigid than those you might find in the Essentials line. Really an upgrade, if you ask me. So you get those two. Then you get another eye essential, which is the crease brush. It's just this really nice kind of domed, fluffy shader for the crease. And then two, well, one brow brush. There's an angled liner brush on this end and a spoolie on the other, and then an actual eyeliner brush, which I mistook because the spoolie part was poking out in the book, and so that's all I saw. I didn't know there was an angled liner here on the other end. So you actually get two, which is nice in case you prefer to line your eyes with an angled liner brush. You can have one for your brows attached to your spoolie, and then you have this one if you actually want to use it for eyeliner, which is really nice. There really is no difference between the two. And then there is a lip brush, or it's really kind of a multi-purpose sort of use thing. You could use it for eyeliner, you could use it for lips, you could use it to spot conceal. It's just a really teeny tiny brush, basically. But all together, they make a killer eye set. I mean, just amazing quality. I was so excited to try this and would highly recommend it to anyone who is looking for an all-in-one essential brushes kit. Very cool. Moving on to an eyeshadow palette, and I am wearing some of these shadows here today, as well as in the past couple of videos in the demo that I am going to display here. So if you are asking, it's these. This is the e.l.f. Artistry eyeshadow set. Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. Retails for $20, which again is kind of on the higher end for e.l.f. However, in likeness, it's trying really hard to be a Vice palette for Urban Decay. Look at this. I mean, it's kind of the hard-backed version. You open it up, the mirror sits really nicely, like that perfect angle. It is a nice big mirror, as you can see here, so it's very practical for doing makeup. You get a dual-ended brush, a really well-made dual-ended brush with a flat shader, and then sort of a fluffier blending brush, which you might not necessarily intuitively use as a crease brush, but I personally did today to blend in one of the, well, kind of matte shadows in this palette. And then you actually get to the shadows, and here you have 20 eyeshadows, and it's a really great mix of neutrals and colors. You get some really vibrant colors, some really classic neutrals, and then some really interesting hybrids that you don't realize you get until you actually swatch them. Namely, well, actually, no, a couple of them. There are some of these really interesting grays down here. This one in the center is kind of like this mauve, whatever, purpley hybrid with some silver duochrome action going on. Lavender, there's this beautiful cranberry, deep cobalt blue, all super beautiful. I do have to say they swatch better than they apply. You absolutely have to use your favorite best primer that's going to keep these from fading throughout the day because they are somewhat powdery. So at first, you know, if you were to apply them very heavily, they will look very pigmented, but for some reason that just kind of fades throughout the day unless you are wearing unless your primer's bringing its A game that day. I really would recommend wearing a great primer, but for this kind of shadow assortment and the kind of shadow quality as far as pigmentation goes, they're very buildable. It's a great little eyeshadow palette. When I say little, like this is the biggest palette e.l.f. has ever made when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, but you know what I'm saying. It's pretty great. Next is a highlighting palette, and this has gained a lot of traction on YouTube, social media, all that kind of stuff because of its strong resemblance to the Hourglass Ambient Lighting highlighting palette. So here you can see you get 4 shades. One is golden undertones, one champagne-y undertones, one is more, well, actually this is more, yeah, kind of pink champagne versus nude champagne down here in this corner, and then a bronzy highlighter. And this is very similar to a lot of the other 4-pan palettes they've come out with say their bronzer palette. They also have a couple of blush quads, and the gist is that each one of these pans pops out, and at first I was like, oh, that's great, so you can replace them when they actually when you actually run out of them. The thing is, I don't think you can purchase them individually. What they did is even more ingenious in my opinion, and it's that you can mix and match within these palettes. So if you want to take some to go and you're like, oh, but I only want this golden highlighter and the bronzer that I wear every day out of my bronzer palette, this one blush or 2 blushes, whatever, you have your perfect customized palette to go, all in this super, really nice and sleek compact. So took me a while to catch on to that business, but once I did, it was pretty cool. Anywho, that's the kind of packaging you're working with this highlighter palette, and those are the shades you get inside. And the dupe in question here is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette. Does visually look very, very similar, and I will say these swatches look very, very similar as well. However, when it comes to where, I should probably hold up the other one if I'm gonna make this comparison. I should probably do that, huh? So here you go. Here are the dupes. Now obviously this has 4 while the other one has 3, but there are some very close matches you'll see here in the swatches. The main difference though is that I would say the e.l.f. highlight palette is pretty strictly a highlight palette, whereas I find that I can wear, which one is it? Dim Light? Yes, I believe it's Dim Light in this palette as a setting powder. Absolutely love it as a setting powder because it has sort of a true satin finish that really just, diffuses lines and really any sort of unevenness in the under eye area. I tried that with the matching powder in this palette, which is kind of this taupey champagne here in the lower corner. Yeah, it didn't work out so much for me. It really emphasized anything I had going on in my under eye area, brought a lot of attention and kind of greasiness to it because you are highlighting. I mean, it's a very subtle, very natural looking highlight, but it's very clearly a highlight that I'm setting my under eye makeup with, and it did not translate well. It did not translate quite like this, so I decided not to do a dupe or dud. I'm just gonna say it out right here. It is not a dupe for the ambient lighting palette overall. However, I will say that the highlight quality and the finely milled texture and the kind of like light diffusion that you get from this palette is a very near dupe for the Hourglass ambient lighting palette. Just don't go setting your under eye makeup with it because it could be a disaster. But besides that, I do find like I'm wearing this bronze shade right here, this golden bronze, as kind of my bronze, or not really contour, mostly a bronzer underneath my cheekbones, and then on top of it I'm wearing this pinky highlight just over top, applied with my fan brush. So beautiful, and I love the way it looks. It lasts really beautifully all day, and the iridescence, that's what it is. It's more of an iridescence because the shimmer is so finely milled. You're not gonna look like this crazy disco ball walking down the street. So in the way that you are looking for a powder that is of the same quality and you can achieve the same finish on your skin, that is when I would reach for these e.l.f. The e.l.f. Illuminating palette. But if you're looking to dupe this ambient lighting palette exactly, not so much. Last here, moving on to some new lip products, the first of which I'll breeze by super fast because frankly the formula hasn't changed. It's just 3 new shades. They are of the e.l.f. matte lipsticks, and the shades are Mulberry Maven, which I'm wearing right now on my lips. There is Scarlet Night, which is this beautiful deep plum, and Rowdy Rouge, which is kind of a true red, hints of orange, but a very true red. The reason I don't want to talk a whole lot about these is because I love the formula. They're very comfortable matte lipstick on the lips, somewhat long wearing, mostly because they do stain your lips and less because they dry down like a matte lipstick might. So something to keep in mind, but the formula is super comfortable. They come in this automatic stick format where you can really easily twist them up, and they have the tapered tip, so it's easy to get a very nice, precise application. But overall, it's a great formula. They've just further improved upon it with some great winter shades. Onto some new lip exfoliants. These are 2 different not shades, well, they are different colors, but mostly different flavors. One is Mint Maniac and the other is Cherry Tart. I have used them both, and what I find is that they are they're very slightly different from the original lip exfoliant in how small the granules are. I much prefer these. The other one had these kind of larger chunky granules that I just found to be a little cumbersome, a little too jagged for the lips. I didn't really ever use that. I'm addicted to these guys. These are like small, more uniform little exfoliating beads almost on the lips, so they feel way more comfortable, but they also do feel like they're achieving the kind of exfoliation you want from your lip product. And these especially have been key for the winter. They not only exfoliate, but they are also in a balmy medium, as you can see here. And so once you wipe away that texture from the exfoliant, your lips still do have kind of a balmy texture, not so much a sheen, but you can still feel kind of that balmy, waxy consistency on it to create that barrier and kind of seal in some hydration there. So overall, I really like these. Given that I wasn't a huge fan of the original lip exfoliator, I really, really like these. And they make lip exfoliation on the go, or just in general, super easy. You don't have like a scrub or a mask that you have to put on over your lips and then rinse or wipe or whatever off. Very no fuss, mess-free sort of situation here. And the last bit of newness to hit my makeup collection have been these lip Kiss Balms. There are 8 shades. I have 7 here because one is actually in my purse. That's the kind of, kind of convenient products these are, where they are kind of a hybrid balm lip stain color sort of thing, where they are in a balmy medium. They leave this nice balmy texture on your skin. They're meant to be very nourishing and fortifying for winter, but they are pretty tinted, and there are some deep shades in here, so I'll show some swatches, but basically they're meant to be the perfect combination of both. And whenever I see them, I keep thinking baby lips, but I gotta be honest with you guys, this might be shocking to some of you, have never owned or purchased a baby lip in my life. I've never even tried a baby lip. I know it was all the rage and still like people swear by them, but I just tend to prefer sort of high impact color when it comes to my lip products. And so they just never appealed to me. So these were kind of seemed like the perfect marriage of both. I have to say, after trying, you might have seen my recent review of CoverGirl's Oh Sugar vitamin infused lip products. I tend to prefer those as far as like moisturization goes. However, these are very pigmented and I haven't tried any of the deeper shades in the Oh Sugar from CoverGirl. So these definitely win in terms of not only pigmentation, but also probably price. However, I will say if you are after these because your lips are like very dry and flaky and the worst they've ever, you're really looking for some hardcore moisture and repair, this is not what I would necessarily recommend these for. These are for like maintaining lip health, making sure your lips don't get dry, and then adding like a serious surge of color if that's what you're after. A sheer, it's not completely opaque, like it's not a cream finish, there is no shimmer or anything to these, but they definitely have a balmy finish and you can still see unevenness, if that makes sense, on the lips. I'm not sure that it does, but it's just a very natural looking balm stain on the lips. I also have some setting sprays that I'm not totally prepared to talk about in this video, so I might save those for later. But besides that, that is everything new from e.l.f. I know this was probably a crazy long video, but hopefully having those timestamps down below helped a little bit. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me through all of it if you did. Otherwise, thanks for watching the parts you wanted to watch. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!